All right, it is 7 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order. While this meeting is being held in person, we also offer the option for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to participate virtually are included in the City Council calendar item at missionks.org. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Robin, will you please call the roll?
Vaughn,
Here.
Hayden Champosi,
Here.
Mosa,
Here.
Ryder,
Here.
Ring,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Josie.
Here.
And I did just want to note for the benefit of the public, both online and in the audience tonight, that we are keeping an eye on the weather and we do have an inclement weather plan that would be followed should any situation arise. So first on our agenda tonight is special presentations. We have two special presentations this evening. The first is a proclamation designating April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in an effort to bring awareness that children have a right to be safe and to be provided an opportunity to thrive, learn, and grow. It is critical that we come together as partners so that the voices of our children are heard by all and that as a community, we are extending a helping hand to children and families in need. We thank the many child advocates, including teachers, nurses, and social workers that work tirelessly every day helping children and ensuring their bright and healthy futures. Our second proclamation recognizes Arbor Day 2026 in the City of Mission. This year, Arbor Day will be celebrated on Friday, April 24th. I'd like to present the proclamation to Mr. Almany and ask our Parks, Recreation, and Tree Commission and Penn to give us an update on our Arbor Day activities.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can come down at the end. Yeah.
Thank you. So our Arbor Day activities are going to take place on Friday, April 24th at Rushton Elementary. We partner with the second graders that day and share everything from the poster contest winners that happened as part of the fifth grade poster contest. We share with them the benefits of trees. We share with them the importance of being outside and enjoying themselves on playgrounds. And then we do that all at Waterworks Park, which is right next to Rushton Elementary. And so we'll be joined with Parks and Recreation team members, the mayor, and then Parks, Recreation, and Tree Commission members as well.
Excellent. And so we'll hand you our proclamation.
And what time?
Great. There we go. All right, everyone, say trees. Thank you.
Sensitivity.
And I had practice. I survived speaking to the combined kindergarten classes at Rushton. So now I'm very well prepared for the second graders this year. Let's see, this evening, we do also have one board and commission appointment to consider. So I would put before you the appointment of Catherine Duderstadt for the Planning Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2027. Do I have a motion?
Mayor and the City Council uphold the appointment of Catherine Corliss, and it's now
Duderstadt.
to the Planning Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2027.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? We do have Catherine here tonight. I don't know if you wanted to say hi or just wave. You're welcome to come up if you'd like.
Catherine Duderstadt, but that's a fairly new last name. I just got married a few years ago. And I'm excited. I love the City of Mission and I really deeply appreciate all the work that you guys already do for the city. And I'm excited to be a part of city governance here in Mission. So thank you.
And you both work and live in Mission, right?
I do.
Yep.
Yes. And I'm a Powell Community Center member.
There you go. All the
Right.
things. Love it.
Yes.
All right. Any questions or discussion? Thank you, Catherine. Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Hayden Champosi.
Aye.
Ring.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Mosa.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, congratulations to Catherine, our new Planning Commission member. We appreciate your volunteer service, which is key to the work of our city. We rely a lot on our volunteers on our boards and commissions. To that point, we do still have 2 vacancies on our Sustainability Commission for residents in Ward 1, 2, or 3. So if anyone tuning in tonight is interested or knows of anyone who might be interested, please send them to our city clerk, Ms. Robin Folks. Next on our agenda tonight is public hearings. We do not have any public hearings or items related to the issuance of notes and bonds on our agenda, so we will move into our consent agenda. Our consent agenda has 3 items tonight. Our council committees met on April 1st and fully discussed and considered each of these items. The committees agreed that the items listed on our consent agenda are routine enough to be considered under a single motion. If a council member or member of the public would like an item removed from the consent agenda, they may request that at this time. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I move the city council adopt the consent agenda as printed, items 4A through 4C.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Trustee
Aye.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Crane,
Aye.
Mimosa,
Aye.
Hayden Chomposi,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Ryard,
Aye.
motion carries.
All right, next we will move into public comment. If any members of the public would like to make a comment on items not included on our agenda tonight, now would be the time. I would note that public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Justin, any hands online? Seeing none, we will move into our action items. We have 2 items coming forward from the Planning Commission tonight. The first is for consideration of a special use permit for temporary storage and offsite parking at 5701 Rowe Avenue. Ms. Cunningham, will you please provide your report?
Yes, good evening, council. We have both applicants with nice presentations here tonight, so I won't take up too much of your time. But the first application is for a special use permit at 5701 Rowe in that little triangle property between Shawnee Mission Parkway, Johnson Drive, and Rowe Avenue. This is being requested by Johnson County Wastewater. They are beginning improvements at their Belinda pump station, which is at 5700 Belinda in Fairway. It's about 1.5 miles from this site. And they're requesting to use the Rock Creek pump station as a laydown and construction staging yard for the duration of their Belinda pump station improvement project. So they are basically looking at creating 2 lots on the property. One that would be for parking of employees who are going to be working on site. So they theoretically would go there, park in the morning, get in a van, and be transported to the work site to avoid clogging up the neighborhood with lots of different vehicles and congestion. The second site on the east side would be for storage of construction materials and maybe some overflow parking during the peak seasons when those workers might need it. And the big underscore on all of this for us is that the contractor is really the one responsible for making sure all those materials are secure, maintaining a clean and orderly site. If there's any dirt, debris, materials, anything like that that enters in adjacent roadways or sidewalks, it will be promptly removed by the contractor. And let's see, I will let them go into more detail on the plans for all the materials they're going to use and lay down and the screening. But based on our assessment of the site, it is zoned for this use, actually. The reason why it requires a special use permit is because it's for an offsite project. So if they were doing the project on this site, they could park all of this there, they could store all the materials there. But because it's being used for storage for another site, that's why they're coming to us for a special use permit. But all of the water from that Belinda pump station in Fairway, it feeds into the Nelson wastewater treatment plant. This is all part of one cohesive system for public improvements. So based on staff and engineering, our consulting engineers review and the recommendations of the Planning Commission, we do recommend approval of this item. And we have some folks from Johnson County Wastewater here if there are no other comments.
Do you want to, any comments, questions at this time? Yeah, Debbie?
Do we have an agreement with Fairway, a city-wide agreement with Fairway if anything happens on that end?
We don't currently that I know of. certainly wouldn't be opposed, but I'm not sure what kind of
Yeah, I'm
agreement.
not
that
sure
would be.
we would, I'm not sure what it would include. So. And maybe,
Way through Mission, so
Yeah, there's no intergovernmental agreement with Fairway. Sometimes we do that when we have shared projects, but this is really a project of Johnson County wastewater. It's being managed by them, so there's no intergovernmental agreement.
and they may be able to speak to, I'm assuming that
Yeah.
they handled their permitting through the city of Fairway.
Right.
And you said they were here to speak. Oh, yeah, sorry, Ben, did you have a question for Taylor?
No, you addressed it at the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, want to do a
I just
question?
have a,
Yeah, you have a
I
question?
just have a question, and it's just curiosity. It really doesn't mean anything.
Okay, great.
When you're talking about the trucks coming in.
Yeah.
Can't they just go around and come out? I mean, I have a little concern about backing out. They go in and then they back out.
I see.
Why can't they just do like a loop? It's not big enough?
Yeah, it's probably a pretty tight turn radius with the existing structure Brian's got.
Well, the folks from Johnson County wastewater are here tonight, so they can probably explain that better than us, but the intent is to pull into the site and then kind of back up to where they need to unload and pull out to the front. So kind of basically do a T. Pull into the site, back up to this, we're going to unload and pull out. They're going to pull into the site, kind of go around to the side. You'll see it on the aerial. They'll pull into the site and then kind of back around and pull out again frontwise. So they're not backing out into the street. No, that's not the intent, at least. Yeah, the folks from wastewater can explain that better.
Great. Yeah, question from Taylor?
There will be no hazardous materials or lithium batteries in this facility.
Not that I know of. I'll let them answer that as well, but no, mostly it'll be a couple Connex containers, to store tools and stuff for that, basically to not clog up the project site more than already necessary. And those will all be locked and secured at night, and they will also be installing security cameras on the property.
Thank you.
All right. And then someone from Johnson County wastewater was
Yes.
going to chime in. All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Alex Zerwinski. I'm Managing Engineer of Treatment and Pumping Projects for Johnson County Wastewater. Our address, or my address, is 11811 South Sunset Drive, Suite 2500, Olathe, Kansas 66061.
And I'm Taylor Hughes, and I'm the general contractor working under Johnson County Wastewater on the Bullender Pump Station project. I'm the project manager for the specific project, and my address is 1491 Iron Street, North Kansas City, Missouri 64116.
Okay. All right, well, great. Well, thank you very much for your time and attention, and appreciate the meeting here. Also, before I begin, I want to give a big thanks to Brian Scott and Taylor Cunningham. They've done a really good job helping us out with this effort and pulling this together, because it is a big coordinated effort. So really appreciate the work that they've done to help pull this all together for us and to work with you all. So three main things we want to talk about tonight. One is the Bullender Pump Station project. The second is the request for temporary storage on our Rock Creek Pump Station site. And then talk a little bit about the Rock Creek Pump Station project itself and how that fits into our integrated plan and where we're going with the future for that pump station. Next slide. So Bullender Pump Station, as Taylor mentioned, it's located about 1.5 miles to the east of the Rock Creek Pump Station site. It is our oldest pump station within Johnson County. About 1947, when that pump station was installed, treats about 10.5 million gallons a day of wastewater flow that gets pumped up to the Nelson Wastewater Treatment Facility. It serves 6 different cities. Even though the pump station is located in a fairway, the collection system that we have underground, it does connect all of us together. So 6 different cities flow to that pump station, 7 if you count Rock Creek, because we do have a gravity line from Rock Creek that does flow to the Bullender Pump Station during wet weather or emergency flows. So in a way, Rock Creek is connected as well to Bullender. The Bullender Pump Station site, as you can see on the right-hand side image, it is a 0.8 acre site. It's located right there between 2 golf courses and next to many residences. And while we have a fair amount of land, not a lot of it is usable from a storage and contractor staging area. That orangish color in the bottom there is an underground storage tank that we use to store and treat wet weather flows that that pump station can receive. That takes up a majority of that front yard. Not only does it take up that area, we're doing improvements to the top of that we have to excavate, making it unusable. About half of that is in the floodplain as well, so it makes it unusable for storage. And in addition to that, it's not rated for load carrying capacity. It's just for minor loads. And like I said, the project itself under construction, we're looking at about a time frame. We're under construction right now, and time frame between 2026 to 2028. With that, I'll hand it over to Taylor to talk about the storage request.
Yeah, so Taylor did a good job of explaining. Lot 1, as you can see on the left side of the screen, that would be used for employee parking. And as mentioned, we would be on the site daily. We plan to have a passenger van there. So in regards to that, keeping that's on Mega KC to provide security for that. There'll be security cameras at the lot. But in saying that, that allows for our superintendent to be there in the morning and at night to lock up. We will have locks on our gates. To keep our storage safe in lot 2 towards the right side, we plan on adding a privacy panel fence, which is essentially a mesh panel that you put on a fence, and you get visibility, but not all the, or you can see a majority in, but not all of it. And we would also have storage containers in there, and that would be additional security to, I guess, lock our storage in there. I guess the large items that we could potentially have is like brick pallets or mechanical bar screens potentially. But in the trucking scenario, we would only have a gooseneck truck and wouldn't have a full semi-trailer coming to offload materials. So a need for the road, if that was potentially needed, we would have flaggers. But we don't foresee that being needed.
Question right there.
So let me just be clear. So they're gonna go in,
Mm-hmm.
offload, back up into the site and then come out the front.
Yes, yep. So
Okay.
so from Row Avenue, they'll drive into lot 2. And then since a gooseneck is much smaller than a semi-trailer, they should be able to back in and where it tees kind of next to the building, then pull in and out to Row.
That's similar to, we do have waste management that comes to pick up a dumpster there on site for us as well. So they have to manage that area as well. So it'd be probably very similar to that.
Yes, and any, so if the road were to ever be dirty, we would be in charge of street sweeping. We'll also have trash cans on the site and making sure that we keep ourselves accountable and keeping the sites clean. Can you speak a little bit about Yeah. In order to keep the site, I guess, in a good place to restore it when we are gone, our plan is to put filter fabric on top of the existing grass and then kind of like a base rock. And that just helps with like stability for any of our connexes. And also we'd be able to easily remove that and then have some usable soil at the end. But as intended, we will restore the site back to its normal conditions after we are done.
Any other questions for the team? Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, just curious what other sites you considered, if any, for this project, for the Belinda Pump Station project, for laydown of materials and equipment.
Yeah, we did reach out to the Johnson Motor Vehicle lot to see if they would allow us, but they did not approve us to do that. I think they have some voting coming up that parking was potentially an issue, and we have reached out to private properties as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any further council questions? All right, we would open up. Is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this issue? Public comments are limited. Oh, more slides. Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Well, do you have any more questions related to the site of the pump station site and storage for this project?
That's right. You were going to tell us about improvements to the mission site as well. I forgot about that part. Yep.
Yeah, so to continue on, a little bit about the history of Rock Creek Pump Station itself. So just to give a little bit more background of the pump station, just a general overview for everyone on the work that we've done together with wastewater and Mission and the other cities in this area. Some of the history prior to 2021, we were in a different state. We had that same property there, but we were operating within an easement and it was KDOT's easement within their right of way. And part of what we were trying to do was, with working within our integrated plan, develop a series of upgrades, including the Nelson wastewater treatment facility as one of them, including several of these pump stations, including Belinder, Rock Creek, Brush Creek, and others. And one of the main critical needs that we had was to acquire this property to, to secure our destiny and make sure that we could actually build on this site and wouldn't be restricted by KDOT in the future. So a lot of that work happened with Mission and our integrated planning partner HDR to help acquire this site, working with KDOT, and we were able to get that property around that time frame. At that time, Rock Creek Pump Station was also part of the Nelson Wastewater Treatment Project, which is currently under construction with a time frame between 2024 to 2028, 2029 for construction. In October of 21, we made a presentation to the City Council, and there are 4 items to be addressed in that one. We talked about zoning approval, the preliminary plat, the preliminary development plan, and the special use permit for Rock Creek Pump Station to allow us to operate as a pump station indefinitely for that use. So all 4 of those items were passed under Ordinance 1539. Also during this time period, Rock Creek Pump Station was under construction. We had an electrical equipment building on that site that was getting constructed to help with resiliency because we've experienced a lot of flooding in that area that would compromise power to the pump station, which is really bad for what we're intending to do. Also, we had wet weather improvements at other pump stations within that area to mitigate the effects of wet weather within the collection system itself. And that project was completed in 2022. The next slide. Since that time, there's been a lot of changes. We've had cost shocks from the pandemic. And part of that, we've seen significant cost increases. The Nelson project was no exception to that. The project team had to look for value engineering ideas in order to mitigate the cost impacts from that project. One of those value engineering ideas was to look at these pump stations that were originally considered to be part of that larger project and separate them out and put them into a different time frame that could be done at a different time working within our long-term plan. But the Nelson project, the priority there is upgrading the facility within the fence there at that site. We also learned that, or we experienced through those improvements that we did in 22, the electrical project improvement, the wet weather improvements that we did in this corridor significantly helped, and it significantly reduced our risk in that area by handling those wet weather flows to a point where we were no longer experiencing flooding at the Rock Creek Pump Station, and our pump stations were operating at an optimal level. So that had a very good benefit within our system and ultimately provided some flexibility for us in when these projects had to be accomplished. And so the Rock Creek Pump Station was one of those that we allowed us to take another look at that and shift that around to see when would be the right time for that Rock Creek Pump Station to be upgraded. That would fall into our large capital plan and from a resource workload allocation standpoint with our own internal team. And that led into the updates within our integrated plan so we could find a way to keep our rates steady by smoothing out these projects over time to hit a steady rate increase for our ratepayers. So there's several projects within our integrated plan over the next 25 years, but in this area specifically in Northeast Johnson County, I kind of boiled it down to 3 main initiatives that we have going on. The first part are the ones shown in reddish on this image. These are the projects that are currently under construction or about to go into design, so active projects. At the top of the screen is our Nelson Wastewater Treatment Facility. That's where Rock Creek, Brush Creek, all these pump stations get pumped to our Nelson Wastewater Treatment Facility. Belinder Pump Station is currently under construction. We'll target an end date in 2028. And then down at the bottom is our Brush Creek Pump Station, which will also get started with design here in 2027. The next initiative or grouping of projects would be our Rock Creek and Turkey Creek Pump Station projects. So both of those are actually located in Mission. So Rock Creek would be the one we're talking about today with the temporary storage. And then up there along Fox Ridge Drive, just west of the wastewater treatment facility, the Turkey Creek or Fox Ridge Pump Station. So both of those are planned to have upgrades occurring in the 2030 timeframe. And then in the 2040s, shown in blue there, that would be several wet weather improvements that we're going to be making as part of our regulatory requirements and talking with the EPA and the state for repurposing our wet weather holding facilities, along with force main upgrades that we'll have to make in the 2040 timeframe. So that'll be a fairly significant project, but we'll definitely have to, come back and talk to you all and other cities in the area, because that's going to be a big coordinated effort to do several of those pump station and force main projects. But essentially, Rock Creek itself, it's going to continue as a pump station site. That's a continued use that we have for our ratepayers, for your residents, and it benefits all of us. It's just the timing of this pump station project has changed a little bit. And we appreciate your understanding about the challenges of managing these large projects and having to shift these projects around based on capital budget needs and allocations. And then we'll just continue to coordinate on future work and look forward to working together.
Great. I had one question kind of related to the timing, and I don't remember if you were part of the group that presented to us last time, but a lot of assurances were made about improving sort of the aesthetics of the Rock Creek pump station site when we were considering everything for the county in connection with that project. And so now seeing it pushed, obviously with that being kind of adjacent to prime areas for redevelopment is, not ideal in my view, but I understand what you're talking about, flattening out the rate increases and unanticipated project costs. But could you give the quick explanation of why it's now behind Belinda and Brush Creek in terms of timing?
Yeah, absolutely. Largely the asset management needs of those stations is what affected that decision. Before that 22 upgrade, Rock Creek was in pretty poor shape. We had several flooding events, especially 2017. The electrical room itself was the key driver there. That was located in the basement area of that pump station and had flooded out.
First place.
Yeah, our president, Bo, Bo Need, our factory manager, he was an electrician at the time and had to go service that during those time periods, and not a great situation. So addressing that was our key thing, so that way we can maintain pumping in that area, minimize any surcharging out on row during wet weather events if we had any pump failures. Belinda Pump Station and Brush Creek, again, asset renewal is the big driver there. Belinda Pump Station is a very critical pump station for us, just one, because of age. We have a lot of assets that are at the end of their life or a little bit beyond. So having to replace those and knowing the areas that we serve was a very critical need for us. The Brush Creek Pump Station, same thing. It hasn't had, I guess both of those really haven't had a major update in the past 20 years or so. Whereas Rock Creek, since we did do that work in 22, we had some level of upgrades that were done to help reinforce it and make it resilient for the next 5 to 10 years to provide that flexibility. So from an asset management standpoint, the Brush Creek and Belinda Pump Station they kind of moved to the front of the list because of things that just need to get replaced.
Got it. Any other questions? Yeah, Ben?
Okay, this is reaching back into my memory, so I could be completely incorrect. I'm hoping maybe I think I remember hearing that the Rock Creek pump station, the 2034 project, would have some bearing on the role of the Martway facility.
That's right.
What can you remind me what I'm thinking of?
Yeah. So I don't want to get too technical, but you're bringing up, so it's good. It's good memory.
Well, just to be fair, I live right next to it.
Oh, really?
So it's lodged in there.
I see it every day. So Martway and Rock Creek are connected. This area is pretty interesting in how the collection system's set up, because we have several of these things called PEFs, Peak Excess Flow Treatment Facility, really fancy word for holding basin and treatment facility. Martway is connected to Rock Creek, and at the bottom, 75th is connected to Brush Creek, and they're connected by gravity, but they're connected in the collection system in such a way that, as we get flow into our system, we have a lot of connections that shouldn't be there, whether they're, illicit connections from foundation drains or sump pumps, or just infiltration, influent infiltration into the pipes. They can overwhelm the system. So back, decades ago, these systems were designed, the holding tanks, to be able to provide a wide spot in the collection system to keep basements from backing up within the residential areas. So Martway is connected then to Rock Creek because if flows that make their way through the sewer shed there in the collection system, they pass by Martway, and then if flows get high enough, that pump station activates and takes out, up to 22 million gallons a day of flow in its peak flow out of the collection system, and we store it if it's small enough, but otherwise we'll kind of let the solids settle. We'll disinfect it and then remove the chlorine afterwards, and then send that into the creek. But then that's all wet weather flow essentially, but the dry weather flow continues on to Rock Creek. So those two are connected. Same with 75th and Brush Creek, and Belinder Pump Station has the holding tank right there on the pump station site. And then lastly, I guess, Turkey Creek Pump Station, that also has a PEFT as well. So that one has it right there on site as well, but we just kind of group it as one pump station. And so the two of those work together.
Yeah, that makes sense. Again, it's too foggy to be really sure, but I feel like I recall that the Rock Creek Station improvements coming up in the 2030s. That will also increase your wet weather capacity and maybe put less pressure on the Martway Station, which I guess seems like a good thing overall. Is that about right?
For which one?
The Rock Creek pump station improvements would help take some of the pressure off of the Martway Station, which I think is good basically for climate resilience reasons. So
yeah, so that ultimately gets to the part of the integrated plan and the long-term planning. Probably what was talked about last time was working with the EPA and KDHE to remove the discharging of these PEFs into the creek, and instead having those flows go to the pump station, to Rock Creek Pump Station. And then Rock Creek would have to pump all that flow, dry weather and wet weather, up to the Nelson treatment plant. So we have to upgrade the Nelson treatment plant first, get its capacity up to treat the full wet weather flow. And then eventually we can start to look at decommissioning or repurposing those holding tanks. But then we'll have to upgrade the pump stations, and we need to upgrade the force mains to convey all that additional wet weather flow. Now, one thing we probably had in the schedule was, I think last time, Martway was supposed to be one of the early holding tanks that were supposed to be repurposed, I think early 2030s, I think. And one of the reasons was because that pump state or that holding basin doesn't activate as frequently as the other ones. So it's kind of the low-hanging fruit in terms of being able to work through a schedule with the EPA and KDHE and put a plan together. But since working through our integrated plan with HDR, we looked at kind of Turkey Creek as taking the place of Martway and doing Turkey Creek first, because all the flow from that Turkey Creek watershed goes through that one pump station, and we can get more benefit from upgrading that holding basin than we actually would from upgrading Martway. And so part of it was shifting those priorities with the state and putting Turkey Creek more at the forefront of that plan than Martway.
Yeah, for sure. I trust in your ability to engineer the system. Just curious how that all relates. That's mainly I'm thinking, I'm sure you don't want to discharge into the creek any more than you have to, and that's what I'm thinking about as well. So for what it's worth, I think y'all are about as good a neighbor as a wastewater facility can be. So appreciate that.
Likewise, yeah.
Any final questions from the council? Anything left on your presentation? I promise not to cut you off. All right. Thank you, guys. And we will now open it up for real to public comment. So is there any member of the public who would like to comment on this issue? Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Seeing no hands, we will open up the floor for any further council discussion. Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion on the proposed special use permit for temporary storage and offsite parking at 5701 Row.
Mayor, I move the city council approve a special use permit for a period of 2 years to allow Johnson County Wastewater to use 5701 Row for temporary storage and offsite parking. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Ryard,
Aye.
Hayden Chomposi. Aye. Vaughn.
Aye.
Mosa.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Kring.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, our second item coming forward from the Planning Commission tonight is for consideration of adoption of the Rock Creek Corridor Study Phase 2. Taylor, will you please provide a report on this item?
Yes, so we've been working on this plan since right around when I started, and funding for this plan came from the Mid-America Regional Council Mark's Planning Sustainable Places program. And we were awarded that funding to develop a corridor plan that would recommend improvements along the Rock Creek corridor from Woodson to Martway. If you'll remember, in 2023, we did this part one of this study from Woodson to Roland Drive. So this is kind of the final piece of that. And like phase one, the plan was developed after extensive existing conditions analysis, a very robust public engagement effort, and steering committee meetings at really critical feedback points. I won't spend too long up here. Again, we have the professionals. Our consulting team was led by Shawnee Mission North's very own John Moore. And we also had help with our Mark liaison, also Shawnee Mission North grad Bobby Evans. So some hometown boys, and they'll be able to answer all of your questions. But I think we got a great plan. We have a big rollout plot. I hope all of you are able to take a look at it. If not, we'll roll it out later. Or I want to hang it in my office, so come by and check it out. John?
Good evening, everyone. John Moore, project manager with Wilson and Company. I'm part of the overall project team, including Shockey Consulting, SW Design, and Bike Walk KC. As Taylor mentioned, we also have a partner with Mid-America Regional Council as well. So, like I said, bittersweet for this project to end. Very excited to start on it, being from the area, and worked in Mission for a bit there as well. So, want to get things started here. Go through the project here shortly. So, real quick, I did want to just kind of briefly go over the general project overview, as well as kind of just a breakdown, not only some of the in-person engagement opportunities we had, but also virtual and in-person, and then kind of briefly go through some of our design approach that we went through following the feedback we heard from the public, and then some of the existing conditions that we initially found out, not only from phase one, but also from this review as well. And then kind of that final concept that we came up with, combining everything together. So next slide. So just a general sense of what we were looking at initially with the Rock Creek corridor. Like Taylor mentioned, basically from basically Mission Gateway area all the way to Metcalf. So what this project more or less focused on was that area just to the west of Woodson Road. So not only were we looking at the trail alignment of the Rock Creek Trail, but also sort of how that interacts with Martway Corridor as well. So kind of looking at that safety lens. And so part of our approach as well, which I'll get into a little bit more, was kind of coordinating with that Safe Streets plan that was recently adopted, that was funded by the SS4A program. So kind of looking at it with a different bit of a lens, but also making sure that we're pushing forward a lot of the things that made the first phase successful. So next slide. So once again, just kind of a reiteration of where that extent was initially for that phase one plan. Definitely a bit different surroundings. I think major comparisons as well from phase one to phase two, as we had a lot of larger uses in phase two, whereas the phase one was definitely centered more around the downtown area. So a lot of interaction and connection to downtown, but also a lot of activity when it comes to getting to the Target, getting to the post office. Those major demand areas as well. Next slide. In general, as far as feedback goes for phase one, a lot of comments on signage and where the trail is. Folks that use the trail obviously knew very well where it was and how best to get to it safely, but there's still that kind of divide of it's not necessarily right on the major corridors, but there are certain spots where it's not as visually aware of where the best way to access that is. So off and on safety items that were looked at, and certainly accessing those major connections that the city is proud to have. So City Hall, parks, the pool area as well, and then also just kind of the general development, like I said, we have the apartment complex coming up there at Beverly, but also some other opportunities where there is some vacant property still. So next slide. So like I said, there was sort of an on-street component, but also a trail component for phase one. So this is kind of the visualization of what, taking advantage of that creek corridor and really beautifying it with some stormwater improvements as well as some green infrastructure, and then even some different amenities that folks could consider around that more or less trail portion of the corridor. And so some different elements there visually for inspiration. Next slide. So final concepts, what it came to for renderings here, we had a on-street cycle track with some vertical separation along the north side of Martway. And then as far as just a general view of kind of what particularly the trail portion of that corridor would look like for phase one. So not only kind of matching up some on-street opportunities for folks that are generally bike commuters or trying to get to their daily needs, but also some recreational opportunities as well. Next slide. Okay, so we're leaving phase one, going to phase two, heading west. So this is generally the study area that we started off with initially. So I feel like the major comparison with this is, like I said, we're kind of diverting at that Lamar Avenue area. So we're kind of more on street versus if folks want to do more of a recreational, more scenic route, folks are taking the Rock Creek Trail as well. And one thing we did note, some of the public responses that we received, folks are actually using the trail as well to get to those areas where, the back of Target, the back of Hy-Vee as well, where, maybe less vehicular traffic that they can avoid using that area. So that was interesting to hear. Next slide. So similar approaches as we used for phase one, pushing forward to phase two, certainly taking advantage of what's currently there, making it even more vibrant and connected, increasing accessibility where we can, whether it's improving ADA options or, just beautifying the general area, and then also building off of some of that engagement we heard from phase one and bring that forward with phase two and see how that changed moving forward. Next slide. Looking at some of the challenges and opportunities, hoping to maybe turn some of those challenges into opportunities as well. So like I said, some fragmentation when it comes to transportation, whether you're a vehicular driver or a bicyclist, pedestrian, scooter, and so trying to make those connections. So whether that's with the transit center nearby or mostly just crossing Martway was kind of the major item of safety concerns that we were hearing more predominantly. As far as land development, like I said, when it comes to some of that land use connection and large scale commercial uses that you see on this western portion of the Rock Creek corridor, and really seeing how, potentially additional investment around those areas will kind of spur some more investment around the trail as well and kind of activating those spaces. So looking forward to that in the future. And as well as environmental, really returning back some of that green space that was lost as well with all the surface parking that you see in this area and really increasing some tree canopy options. I know there was maybe some tree cover around that Hy-Vee that they had to remove for some drainage issues there, but really trying to make that more of a comfortable walking and biking experience. So what have we heard? Next slide. So I'll start off with the steering committee. It was really exciting to get involved with not only city staff, but also city leaders in the community. And, a lot of what we were hearing initially was kind of a lot of the same themes that we were hearing from phase one as well. So some of that, safety, accessibility gaps, connectivity gaps, some of that wayfinding, and really just making the Rock Creek corridor a destination piece where not only, an activity area like downtown, but also getting to other areas of town as well. So yeah, we had two different meetings with the steering committee. There was one in the fall and more later in the winter, and that was really a great opportunity to kind of get more feedback and really develop our approach to engaging the larger public as well. Next slide. So as far as virtual and in-person engagement, not only did we have a project website with that was couldn't have done it without Robin. She was a great help as well as the rest of the staff, but really getting the word out to folks and not only with online event calendars, but Facebook invites, getting traction on the e-newsletter, even going out with the yard signs along the Rock Creek corridor. We had some QR codes that folks walking or biking nearby were able to know what's going on with the project as well. And in addition to some of the in-person opportunities we had with open houses, public events like the walk and roll that I'll get into, we also had a story map online that folks could interact with, as well as a virtual open house. Next slide. So yeah, like I said, with the walk and roll, great opportunity. We had a similar event in phase one. This was obviously generally focused on phase two. And like I said, kind of rolling theme here when it comes to connectivity, safety, potential opportunities for signage. And a lot of what we heard too is not only just along the trail, but how do you get to the trail potentially from downtown or other activity centers as well. Definitely looking at some opportunities for landscaping, additional art pieces, generally where those major areas where folks are turning around, like in general, like kind of the western segment where there's kind of a dead end there once you run into Metcalf there or Shriners Parkway. But yeah, generally it was a great opportunity. It was a great weather event, so we looked out there, but really kind of getting boots on the ground and not only seeing what we saw from the desktop review, but really getting folks engaged and not only having folks walk the trail, but also bike along Martway as well. Next slide. So in addition to the walk and roll, we had some opportunities to kind of get some smaller focus groups identified. So residents from Mission Square, we visited them in the morning. Project team and Taylor as well had some great opportunities to kind of share their feelings of visibility concerns, ADA access that they're experiencing nearby to get to destinations, and certainly have a preference on dog park. I think is if they we're going to get anything out of this project, they wanted a dog park. So yeah. So yeah, very active group there. So we were excited to get them involved as well. We also had a chance at the community center to invite the general public around neighborhood just south of the trail. So our main concern was like the impacts that the trail segment had on the abutting properties south of the Rock Creek Trail, sort of that area west of Lamar. So got some good feedback there. We even heard of some folks even actually crossing Shawnee Mission Parkway at times when maybe lower traffic times of day, but still trying to weave in between the connections of the trail south of Shawnee Mission Parkway into Overland Park. So really just seeing opportunities where, maybe we can bridge that gap and identify a safer opportunity to cross there. And then next slide. And then finally, we wrapped up with general open house. It was great feedback from approximately 30 folks. So great turnout. I think major takeaways there, like I said, really drumming safety when it comes to not only along the trail, but also along the roadway segment along Martway, as well as kind of that more or less just improving on what's currently there, but also making improvement on wayfinding and placemaking moving forward. Next slide. Okay. So the real fun part now, pretty pictures. Okay. So as far as design approach, like I said, we wanted to get into not only where folks are accessing it, but where there's opportunities for improvement along the trail, and then additional opportunities to improve in those locations where maybe folks aren't using it as much. So implementing things like different amenities, trail art, and then additional safety options as well. So as far as the open house goes, we took them two different concepts, similar rural plot that we see here today, and really got a sense of, okay, if we didn't want necessarily many things to change alignment wise, what could we really see opportunity wise to improve what's currently there? So we're not really generally changing current alignment along Martway and then kind of back of those major businesses west of Lamar, but really kind of taking advantage of some of those opportunities, and whether it be along Barkley or the Pocket Park along Lamar and 61st, and how can we kind of better activate those areas where at least we do control those the property there that we could reinvest. And then the second concept we had was generally kind of throwing everything in the everything in the kitchen sink there. So not only activating those same areas, but actually realigning the Rock Creek Trail alignment where we would maintain sort of that larger sidewalk extent from east of Lamar to Woodson, but generally realign some of that trail area that is just actually north of the pool of the Aquatic Center. And so by doing that, we kind of return it back to some, more of a scenic type feel that folks generally experience east of Woodson, and then back of, like, say, Hy-Vee and Target, but really kind of take advantage of the streamway there, and then even where we're getting fairly close to the to the creek there, potentially having some boardwalk opportunities. If you've been to like Antioch Park, where they kind of have that boardwalk around the lake, similar type thing where we take advantage of that as well. So, and then kind of moving that crossing across Lamar instead of using the intersection, potentially having a separate bike and ped crossing there. So we kind of get away from some of the turning movements there that are making that intersection a bit less safe. And so some inspirational photos here, like I said, public amenities. I think next slide, looking at some inspirational photos, some representations of boardwalk type placement and, different trail nodes and amenities like bike repair and things like that. That you'd probably see like at the Lanes Apartments. Also ways to beautify some of the landscape as well. I think we go to next slide. Next one. Yeah, so public art was a definitely a theme that we heard, not only the walk and roll, but steering committee and the general public house. So things like the racquetball court just out here, maybe doing a mural out there. And generally it's a lot of opportunities that, take advantage of that space we currently have. And then next slide, some of the branding we had from phase one definitely fit well with this next phase as well. So kind of finding some opportunities to locate specific areas to identify where the trail is.
Ask you a quick question.
Yes.
Do we have any concepts for lighting along any parts of the trail?
Yeah, so as far as lighting goes, that's kind of a general comment that we've heard that could be improved. We didn't necessarily have that as part of like, this is where the lamppost goes. We didn't get to that level at this point, but that was certainly a detail that we heard generally around that curve heading south from the high V where you have a heavy amount of tree cover. So especially certain times of day, it can get fairly dark over there. So, but yeah, that was a general comment to increase that as well. So. Okay, and I think we can go to the next slide here. So apart from the trail concept, what we also looked at is how to improve Martway. I know there's some mill and overlay scheduled with some cars funding along this stretch of Martway, but really realized what we can do like within the existing curb space. So there were some alternatives we did with kind of realigning some of the bike lanes, potentially considering a cycle track. There is a proposed cycle track for the phase one portion of this corridor. So how do we kind of see that best fit moving forward? And I think what we kind of came across is there wasn't a whole lot of strong opposition to either form, but generally what we're looking at this next slide is basically continuing that cycle track concept. If we go to the next slide. Continuing that cycle track concept that was realized in phase one. So the only difference would be this would be sort of the southern portion of Martway that would extend from Lamar all the way to Broadmoor. So realistically, with the 43 feet of curb width there, we imagine we could still maintain the current traffic flow there, but also sort of realign some of that bike lane infrastructure and really take advantage of some of the lesser turning movements to the south, whereas there's just not nearly as many curb cuts as there are to the north, and really making a better connection between the trail-like experience as well as the opportunity for folks to get on street as well. Yes.
On that buffer,
Yes.
is that just paint or are we talking about a raised area?
Yeah. So those could certainly be a range of things. At least in most recently KCMO, I know they've done some bollards initially, and then some railroad tie type. Yeah, exactly. So generally, like I said, we've did cost estimates for that, and most recently, Southwest Boulevard improvements downtown. Wilson has worked with KCMO to realize some similar opportunities like you see in the cross section here. So yeah, generally when you have the cycle track option within the curb space, you do want some vertical separation between the vehicular traffic. So currently it's just paint right now with the bike lanes, but we imagine with kind of skinning up the lanes a little bit, there'd be some additional capacity for some vertical separation as well. So a part of this concept, while we said there was a concept for a multi-use pass, so generally those are back of curb. So generally what we thought was we would take advantage of what the existing curb space, and knowing that we're so close to the trail aspect of the corridor that we didn't want to have another off-street trail right next to where there's already a off-street trail fairly nearby. So another option there. So next slide. Like I said earlier, we were partnering with the Safe Streets plan as well when it comes to safety improvements. So these were some of the concepts that we were looking at initially for some of the intersections, mid-block, collector roads as well along the Martway stretch. So we do have some recommendations at each of those locations that tie in well with what was recommended initially in the Safe Streets plan. So as well as cost estimates moving forward. Next slide. Okay, so final implementation, did just want to, yeah, you can go to the next slide there. Did just want to go over this final implementation. So what we're proposing is generally a final concept that is broken down into 3 steps. So we realize it's large corridor, you know, a lot of improvement, especially if we're looking at realignment of the trail specifically to the east of Lamar. So trying to figure out how we can kind of take a few bites of the apple as we go along. And realistically, when it comes down to it, you know, this is initial plan, doesn't realize any potential funding for implementation other than potential funding sources. But this is kind of that initial step of, okay, this is what we want. How are we going to pay for it is kind of the next step. So realizing the, you know, realistic nature of available funding and everything, we wanted to at least break this down to, at least in this initial step, look at some connection options, some safety improvements that can be realized with the existing alignment, as well as kind of taking advantage of some of those pocket park activations, such as like along Beverly, south of 63rd Street, as well as potentially a bridge that would connect the Martway area of the corridor to the tennis courts and aquatic center as well. So, and then that kind of leads us into kind of that big next step of step 2, where we're additionally activating some additional space, but also really realigning that alignment east of Lamar, more towards the creek, and then kind of making that new connection along Lamar. So like I said, these are kind of initial steps to be considered. The final step 3 would be full implementation. So that next slide should show full implementation of what's on the roll plot there, not only activating some space within the middle of the corridor, but also along that Metcalf corridor, and potentially even taking advantage of some of that underutilized surface parking in the Target parking lot. So like I said, large project, like I said, and then the final slide, what we have here is kind of that phase 1 plus phase 2, realizing kind of the opportunity to combine both of these phases together when realizing that, you know, we're not doing it as a full approach, but especially as grant opportunities show up, we can kind of realize this vision as a combined corridor, and even opportunities that we can connect to other areas outside the corridor, even outside of Mission, because we are adjacent to Overland Park. So we've included them as well as some of those open house opportunities to see their interest in connecting to the corridor as well. So, but yeah, with that, that's my presentation. Any questions? Let me just go to the.
Questions? Yeah, Josepha?
Yeah, I apologize if this has been covered, but
Sure.
that proposed bike lane on Lamar, sorry, I have the tiny map. On Lamar, is that proposed to be protected or just also
No,
paint, we think?
Yeah, so I think just within restrictions of the curb space there, you'd have to,
Yeah.
go past the curb if you wanted to
Okay.
add any separation. So,
Thanks.
Yeah, Wanda?
For some reason, I got I'm a little bit confused because I thought has it been determined because I thought there were 2 plans that were presented. Have we decided which plan we're going with? Is that?
Yeah. So initially, when we went through the design process, there are 2 concepts at the open house.
Correct.
And so we were trying to gain input of what folks kind of preferred one concept over the other. And at the end of the day, it was kind of a combination of the 2 and taking advantage of a lot of the activation areas and connections. So there weren't a whole lot of differences between the 2, other than the fact that, like I said, initially we're looking at not really changing much alignment and just kind of improving what was there. So I think at the end of the day, with the feedback from the open house and steering committee, that it was proposed to make that major change to access more of that creek corridor east of Lamar as kind of that final concept. So the 3-step options aren't necessarily 3 different options, just kind of how we would potentially implement it in its entirety.
Yeah.
So yeah, more like concept 2 was kind of initially what that came about.
You
Yeah.
know, John and his team took all this information. We talked about it with Brian and the rest of the team. And when we presented these 2 options, one that basically used the existing trail, didn't realign it with the creek, the second one that realigns it with the creek, everyone was kind of like, well, we want the one with the creek, but can that actually get done? So instead of picking one or the other, we introduced these phases of, okay, if you can't realign the creek, here's what you can do. And if you get that big grant or you get that whatever, here's how that can be implemented. So instead of 2 separate concepts, they're kind of layers, if that makes sense, that are integrated together.
Okay. So let me try to restate what I think I heard you say. Because what I think I heard you say is that that the plan is really concept 2, but we're phasing it. So it's a time thing, not a concept. So you have decided that concept 2 is what you're going to do. And because of cost, you're going to phase it. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's really just a plan. It's a very organic plan. So as opportunities arise where we can find funding and or we can work with a developer to acquire some land or something like that. Now we have a plan we can kind of work towards.
So our job is to approve your phases?
Well, what we're asking tonight is to accept the plan and make it a part of the comprehensive land use plan. So we adopted a comprehensive land use plan in 2023. And then we've done master plans, Rock Creek Corridor 1, the bike ped study, and we're now doing Rock Creek Corridor 2. And we're adopting those and we're making them part of the comprehensive land use plan so that they're living, breathing documents. It's just not something that's going to be put on a shelf and forgotten about, but it's something that's a part of that overall comprehensive land use plan. And as staff, as I stated the other day, we're working together. Where can we find opportunities? A great example is the Martway, a cycle track. Well, if we're going to be seeking out CARS funding or other opportunities to redo Martway, can we look at incorporating a cycle track into that? That's a great opportunity. So we're kind of thinking about that as we go along. Yeah, we're not asking for any funding tonight or anything like that, or a concept or a schedule, nothing like that. It's just a very organic plan that,
You're just showing it.
yeah, as opportunities arise over time, now we have something to kind of go back to and say, oh, we got this plan. Let's try to implement that.
Well,
This.
and speaking to how it fits into the comprehensive land use plan, right? Yes, what you're seeing here is aspirational. It's what we would like to see. There's no money. There's not a concrete plan to make it happen. But to me, the comprehensive plan has the backing of state statute behind it. When applicants come before planning commission and the city council, we're required to evaluate, right, how well that plan fits with the comprehensive plan. So there is some emphasis behind it, but it's not something that we're chaining ourselves to rigidly, permanently. Yeah.
And I should say also that when you do apply for federal grant, any grant really, but especially federal grants for projects, you know, if an grant opportunity came up for this, they always ask about public involvement that's happened. I mean, they really want like pretty close to shovel ready plans as much as you can have without actually engineering them. And so even Mark, when you apply for funding through our service transportation dollars or whatever through Mark, you get extra points if it's been in plans that have been vetted by the public. So this is us like, you know, get ready so you can stay ready sort of situation. Stay ready and you don't have to get ready. And yeah, also like you said, when it's with the comprehensive plan, you know, we write these staff reports for you all on land use decisions, development decisions. We have to integrate that into our recommendations. And so something that, you know, planners before me and Brian and the department has been good about is requiring private development to integrate some of these things as well. That's what we've seen at Encore, the lanes, even with Mission Vale requiring certain easements and right-of-way agreements for possible future bike ped development. So it's all kind of baked into a lot of these projects that might not always get called out to you. We're going to try and do a better job of that in the future, but it helps us because it's a metric that's sort of had the blessing of both the public and the council that we know this is something that people want.
Yeah, Debbie?
And since I mentioned lighting before, and that's not a cost factor in here, I just want it as part of the record because that could be costly. And we'd also maybe run through the Sustainability Commission to discern where we could use solar lighting where there's not a lot of foliage.
LEDs, yeah.
Yeah, I just want that as part of the record because it's not in here.
Any other questions? All right, I would open it up to public comment. Do we have any member of the public who would like to comment on this issue? Seeing none, we'll open it up for any further council discussion. Any other comments from the council? Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, just commenting from the point of view of being involved with a lot of this project and the iterations and the open houses and things and using these trails a lot. I think this process, in particular, this phase especially, even more so than the previous phase, I think really captured the needs and wants of trail users here pretty effectively, and balances, the practical possibilities within our city limits and within our means to address a lot of those needs. And I certainly can't find a lot as a pretty heavy trail user to gripe about with this plan. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, Wanda?
So my question is, we're not getting started yet. We're just.
I wish, but no,
Okay.
not yet. We're just getting ready. Yeah.
Okay. And thank you. I'm glad that the North people got it. My kids went to North, my grandkids. I love it. Thank you.
They're both great to work with, truly. We had a great team. And I did want to just make one more note. I haven't even been here a year yet. And this is one of the only public improvement projects that really the people who came out had largely positive things to say. When we had our neighborhood meeting, we had low attendance and we were like, what the heck? The two ladies that I spoke with were like, we just came to say we really love the trail. We use it all the time. And I think that it's such a unique asset that can only happen in Mission because you so rarely get truly urban trails that can be used for transportation, that you can walk to Target, a grocery store, the post office, like all these places. It's such a unique feature of our community. And I was the MARC liaison for, I was doing Bobby's job essentially for phase 1 of this. That's actually how I was introduced to Mission, how I kept looking at the website to see if there's a job open. And so it is a really, really unique trail. It's a unique asset, and the community has nothing but positive things to say. Of course, they want things to be better, or a mural on the back of Hy-Vee or whatever. But they really love it. So I don't know. It was a very positive project to work on, which I'm not used to, frankly. So
Great.
what's that? I don't think there's room for one, but do what we can.
All right, any final council comments? If not, I would entertain a motion on the adoption of Rock Creek Corridor Study Phase 2.
Mayor, I move the city council adopt an ordinance amending the Tomorrow Together 2040 Mission Comprehensive Plan to include the recently completed Rock Creek Corridor Phase 2 plan as Appendix E.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any final discussion? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Ring.
Aye.
Camosa.
Aye.
Ryard.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Hayden Chomposi.
Aye.
Bond.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we will now move into our council committee reports. Councilmember Schmidt, will you please provide a report from Finance and Administration?
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's a very light report this month. The Finance and Administration Committee met on April 1st and considered 2 items. The meeting minutes and common consumption area map update were approved under the consent agenda earlier tonight, and no items will be considered under the regular agenda this evening. That's it for me.
All right, thank you. And then Councilmember Ryhard, will you please provide a report from the Community Development Committee?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Community Development Committee also met on April 1st and considered 4 items. The meeting minutes and ratification of emergency storm drain repair at 6090 Woodson Street were approved under the consent agenda earlier tonight. Stormwater master plan updates to terminate the agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers and an award agreement to Near Technologies along with the 2027 CARS Design Task Order will be considered under the regular agenda this evening. Move into 7A and 7B, Stormwater Master Plan updates, terminate agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers and award agreement to Near Technologies. In June 2024, the city entered into an agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, also known as USACE, through Planning Assistance to States program to complete a citywide stormwater master plan. Under this agreement, the City of Mission served as the non-federal sponsor, providing a 50% cost share or $178,000 with USACE, completing technical work through architect engineering contracts. The purpose of the study was to evaluate the city's stormwater system and identify capital improvement priorities to address deficiencies and improve system performance. As work progressed, it was determined that a significant amount of critical data, specifically rim elevations and pipe depths for approximately 900 assets, was missing. This data gap is substantially larger than anticipated at the time the project scope was developed and would require additional field verification and associated costs to complete a reliable model. Staff evaluated multiple options in coordination with USACE. Each of these options presented challenges related to cost, schedule, and overall value to the city, and staff ultimately determined that continuing under the current USACE agreement was not a viable option. If the agreement with USACE is terminated, the city is eligible to receive a refund of approximately $150,000 in unused funds. Staff has evaluated alternative approaches to completing a stormwater master plan and identified Near Technologies, Inc. as a qualified provider offering a more flexible, data-driven solution. Unlike a traditional static report, this approach provides a dynamic and continuously updatable planning tool, allowing the city to refine and improve system data over time while still producing actionable recommendations in the near term. The proposed timeline for NEAR's work is approximately 4 to 6 months to complete data processing, modeling, and delivery of recommendations and an interactive dashboard. This approach reduces overall project costs while still achieving the city's goal of developing a comprehensive stormwater master plan. Entering into an agreement with Near Technologies, Inc. will allow the city to develop a cost-effective, data-driven, and adaptable stormwater master plan that supports informed decision-making and long-term infrastructure planning. Staff has consulted with the Corps of Engineers regarding this approach, and there are no issues. We'll have 2 motions. The first one, Mayor, I move the City Council authorize you to execute a letter terminating the agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, or USACE, for the Stormwater Master Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I would open it up for council discussion. Council comments or questions? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Camosa.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Hayden Chomposi.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Kring.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And second motion, Mayor, I move the City Council authorize you to enter into an agreement with Near Technologies, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $65,000 to develop a stormwater master plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, council comment or questions? Yeah, Wanda?
Yeah, I just want to be sure that the work that was done by the Army Corps of Engineers, can they use any of it?
They will use some of the data. Is that correct? Yeah, I see Brent nodding in the back. I don't know, Laura or Brent, if you want to speak to that further. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think there is some data. I mean, first and foremost, it helped us identify the missing data, right? So that in and of itself helps us move into this next stage. But there are some component pieces of it that were completed during the work that has occurred so far that will be ours.
To redo what was done.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Vaughn.
Yes, aye.
Hayden Chomposi.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Kring.
Aye.
Camosa.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, now we're moving into the 2027 Cars Design Task Order. The 2027 Cars Project, Knoll Avenue, 67th Street to Martway Street, is included in the city's 5-year capital improvement plan or program, CIP, and the 5-year CARS program, with construction anticipated in 2027 at an estimated cost of $897,634.65. The scope of work includes an ultra-thin bonded asphalt surface, UBAS treatment, spot sidewalk and curb replacement, limited full-depth pavement repairs, crosswalk improvements, and updated pavement markings. The agreement with Olson includes design services, surveying and roadway design, utility coordination, project management, and bid and construction phase services for a total amount not to exceed $46,118. This project will be administered by the City of Mission in partnership with the City of Prairie Village. Design costs will be shared at a 75-25 split between Mission and Prairie Village respectively, reflecting that most of the project lies within Mission city limits. Mayor, I move the City Council approve a task order with Olson for design of the 2027 CARS project, Knoll Avenue, 67th Street to Martway Street, in an amount not to exceed $46,118.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on this item? Seeing none, any council comments and questions? Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, I just want to restate here in the legislative meeting that I still have some just hangups with the scope of work on this project that I hope we'll address in future projects. And I'm not of a mind to do anything that would sort of jeopardize the CARS timeline on this, but I'm hoping that even just within what we're looking at here, that we can start to convey a sense of wanting to look at speed management and traffic calming within the plans that we already have, whether it's down to striping and low cost things like that. But like I say, I don't think it's worth sticking on this point too long or voting down this task order. But I think we're overdue to sort of update how we treat these projects in light of our complete streets and safe streets goals. Just wanted to put that on the record.
You'll be pleased to know that we had a meeting Monday, I think, someday earlier this week, Monday, where we talked about just that. And I believe Taylor will be, as part of the complete streets updates you're going to get later this year, we talked about bringing in both of our on-call engineering consultants and having a sit down and talking through and looking at, you know, I mean, typically I think we've relied on the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices, or MUTCD. Our comprehensive plan references NACTO standards, which are different. So really beginning to bake that in. I mean, I think we heard and listened to what you said. So that's in progress. And then I'll talk a little bit more about a work session we're having next week on streets and how we'll want some additional feedback from you all about some policy and value decisions moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And just, you know, I don't know what these task orders tend to consist of. If they do any alternatives analysis, things like that within this scope, you know, this size of a project, just, you know, give them the old nudge, like, here's what's coming. You're going to make some friends on the council if you can start to work some of that in without, you know, really pushing the contract.
Yeah, I would second Ben's comments on that. You know, I've raised concerns before that I don't view this as one of the safest areas of the city for any sort of transportation, whether it's vehicle, pedestrian, bike. And actually on my way to council tonight, witnessed a near miss T-bone accident, like one car in front of me at 63rd and Null. So anything we can do to, you know, incrementally improve safety in this area, you know, understanding that this isn't a full depth reconstruction project or complete street redesign, you know, anything we can do, I think would be helpful because yeah, it's very heavily trafficked and not the best. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Keenan, Shamposi.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Mosa.
Aye.
Green.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Bond.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That completes my report.
Great. We do not have any unfinished or new business tonight. Therefore, we will move into comments from the city council. This is an opportunity for comments from our council members. Does anyone on the council have something they would like to share? Yeah, Debbie?
Wanda and I attended the State of the County address yesterday, and I want to say that one of the highlights, although there were many about Johnson County and how phenomenal it is and that people love it and it's all good, was they got the #1 award in the entire country for their Parks and Recreation Department. And I thought that was really outstanding. They had photos to show and just a group of really dedicated people. And I thought we could put ours up against anybody from city Parks and Recreation. So Penn, you're right on and we appreciate you.
Yeah, Ben?
Just while we're thinking about the trails and the Rock Creek Trail, it's a wonderful time of year to go experience the Rock Creek Trail. Great weather, plants are in bloom, the flowers smell great, and you know a lot of our relatively new residents at the lanes are doing just that in very large numbers, and it's great to see folks out and about and using the trail and shopping and spending money and all those things.
Yeah, Wanda?
I just wanted to say that I think that the native plants are beginning to bloom. And it really looks nice. I really do like that whole concept that the native plants have brought to that. Because it used to look kind of raggedy, but now it looks nice. It does.
Yeah.
And I even think that the veterinarian place, I think they've got some plants too now, don't they?
Mission that day.
Yeah, the emergency place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian?
Just a reminder to everybody watching that Ward 3 has its meeting tomorrow night, Thursday, at the community center from 7 to 8.
Great. Okay, any other comments? Next, we will move into our council committee liaison reports. These reports allow the entire governing body to stay up to date with the various activities of the boards, commissions, and committees. First is council members Hayden Chomposi and Josie for sustainability.
Sure. Yeah. So the thank you. The Sustainability Commission met a grand total of 2 days ago, so very recent, top of mind. Let's see, they recently had their strategic planning retreat, and were able to really hash out a lot of their strategic planning goals and start preparing for what they want to tell us as in front of the council coming up the next couple of months. Reviewed some of the takeaways from that meeting or from that retreat. We did get to do a bit of a deep dive on the Bunny Extravaganza booth and how they, interact with city events and participate in city events and what they want to do going forward. But one thing I thought was really cool is they made the decision to hand out packets of like wildflower native seeds instead of candy, since there's already enough candy at the Bunny Extravaganza. And apparently those went like just instantly, very, very quickly. There was a line for them. So I was very happy about that. My kids took theirs home immediately and planted them all over our yard, and they're watering them. It's great. Let's see. We had discussion just coordinating for their involvement with citywide cleanup. I don't think we need necessarily the blow by blow of the strategic plan stuff, since they will be coming to present on that. Yeah, I think that really covers it. Anything you want to add?
I think the things that folks need to have in mind as that commission comes and talks to us is that they are interested in finding a better way to provide education to our community and connect better as well. And so as they are looking toward like how to recommend that we partner in that a bit better, I think that they are very keen to know how to partner best with us to do that. And so I think that's what we need to bring with us, as I think in June, maybe they come and tell us what they have on their minds. So.
Yeah, that's a great addition. They are very hungry to be just better, stronger partners with the city council and with the community, and always looking for ways that they can help us out and engage in policy and just help us with our goals. And yeah, that concludes our report, I believe. Yes.
Great. Next, we have council members Camosa and let's see, Carpenter Davis is absent tonight. So for Parks, Recreation and Tree Commission, Sam.
Yeah. So Parks, Recreation and Tree Commission met also this past Monday, April 13th. They reviewed a successful bunny extravaganza that took place on April 4th. There were 650 attendees and over 11,000 stuffed eggs. I know many of us at the dais attended the event, my family included, and it was pretty great event, even with the cold weather. So thank you to Penn and the entire staff. I know it's I believe you called it an all hands on deck event. So it was wonderful. If you happen to visit one of the parks soon, you might notice there are new report of concern signs with a QR code, which I think is a pretty great solution of like meeting residents where they are, where if you see something, you could scan it and then it takes you straight to the website. So I thought that was a terrific idea. I'm excited to see those at the parks when we attend. I think it's going up this week, right, Penn? This week or next week, yeah. No. Also, milkweed will be planted shortly at Waterworks in Mohawks Park, and that's part of the Mayor's Monarch Pledge to fulfill our part to save the monarch butterfly. They will be the chair, Nicole Sullivan, will be presenting to City Council next month, just on the review of the past year and then priorities in the upcoming year. And then my final item is what I think is a pretty cool highlight. Mission has been awarded a Tree City USA designation for the 24th consecutive year. And we were also distinguished with a Growth Award for the 5th straight year. And the Growth Award is a higher level of recognition that only 5% of Kansas cities obtain. So I think that's pretty awesome. Congratulations to Penn for all the paperwork that goes into that, city staff, and everyone that contributes. So. And that concludes my report.
Great. Oh, yeah, Wanda?
When do they turn on the toilets and the water?
So we shoot for mid-April, weather dependent. I believe the last one we're waiting for is the MFAC restroom and then Broadmoor restroom. And Broadmoor was delayed a little bit because of the new fountain that's being installed.
Let's see. Next, we will hear an update from council members Ryder and Kring on Mission Magazine.
Well, we did not meet this past Tuesday, but hopefully everybody has seen their copy of the newest edition of the Mission Magazine, which most of our mugs in this room are in. So,
Some of us talked more than others.
is that? Well, yeah. But yeah, take a look at it. I enjoyed flipping through it. I know my family enjoyed flipping through it. Iris was excited to see herself in the magazine. So, but yeah, I'm excited for the rest of the issues that are going to come out. And yeah, I don't know, Debbie, if you have anything else to add, feel free, but it's a good
I'm
one.
looking forward to the next one too.
Yeah.
It's a great way to communicate with the public, and they have more comments about the magazine. They love the magazine.
Great. Finally, we have Councilmember Schmidt and Bond with an update on family adoption.
Family Adoption Committee did not meet this last month, so I have nothing to report.
All right, and next would be my mayor's report. I already did my appointment for the evening, but I did want to make a couple of notes. One, as we're talking about all things wonderful, transportation, multimodal, etc., I wanted to flag that Fan Fest is open for the World Cup. You can get your passes and you'll be able to travel straight from the Mission Transit Center. So my friend and I made a plan for July 20th. So if any of you go down that Saturday, maybe I'll see you among the, many thousands of people, but should be, oh, sorry, June 20th. Yes. No, I'll be all by myself. That's right. Yeah, June 20th. So that should be a lot of fun. And then I just wanted to give, I know Stephanie's not here tonight, but shout out to Brent and the rest of the staff team on our street projects. I know there's been a lot of frustration, but progress is not always smooth. And we, of course, have not only the city working on projects and our contractors, but we have a lot of utility work ahead of our own city project on Johnson Drive. And then KDOT kind of surprised us with doing their bridge repair work at the same time. So I know it's a little bit chaotic around town right now, and just thank you to residents for your understanding and patience, and know that our staff is on it and trying to do the very best job we can to make it as smooth as possible, but it's hard given the scale of work that's going on. So thank you, Brenton, our public works team in particular on that. Next, Laura, do you have any items you would like to share with City Council tonight?
Evening, Mayor and Council. I have some fun business updates for us tonight. So I think a few of you have mentioned, or I have seen you mention or heard you mention, Many Moments Play Cafe. So it has opened at 5860 Beverly, next to Rock Creek Brewing. And I believe it is, I don't know what age range it caters to, but smaller kiddos, indoor play space. So check that out, or invite your friends to check that out. Royal Shine Car Wash, new ownership at 5960 Barkley. We had a ribbon cutting with the Northeast Johnson County Chamber that was lovely last week. And Mayor Flora and some of our council members attended, and Mac was our special guest, I think. But it was really great to see their facility. There was a walkthrough tour you could go on. I had already been in the drive-through tour. We became proud members immediately. Car washes. But it was really interesting to hear them talk about their roof. So they all solar power panels, the entire roof is covered with them. And they hope to be able to run about 90% of their electrical needs to those solar panels, which was really good. And then they have some really fun ideas for water sustainability practices in a phase 2. So hopefully coming soon.
I would also like information about getting in the magazine.
Who? Royal Shine. Perfect. I will add them to our advertising list and we'll get in touch with them. Fluffy Fresh Donuts is open again under new ownership. Our new owners were wonderful. They came to our Mission Business forum related to soccer things that we had at the community center last week. They're really excited to be open. They're working with the owners of the building, working with city staff on maybe some grant possibilities for the building as we move into summertime.
but they are excited to receive you at 5729 Johnson Drive. I hear you have to go early, so set your alarms. And then BST Homes has gone in at 4730 Lamar. And then a quick reminder, next Saturday, April 25th is our pancake breakfast and citywide cleanup. So I know you all are locked in and ready to go on that one. If you have neighbors or friends or constituents, please share with them both the opportunity to clean up, but also the opportunity just to come for breakfast and kind of celebrate the city. We added that to celebrate our 75th anniversary this year. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Robin?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. With the March interim financial report. So this is kind of the first benchmark as we've got a quarter under our belts now. So just kind of taking a look at that though, across the board, both expenditures and revenues wise, we're trending above where we would be. So ahead on revenues and under where we would be on expenditures. So both good pieces of news. So black, yeah. It's good. It's looking good. So revenues are still good. And again, it's a quarter, so it's still early, but they're trending where we'd like to see them. And again, expenditures as well. One question I did get just to point out, if they noticed, something based on this body, the decision they made and the feasibility study from the Powell Community Center is just that the recovery rate for the PCC for the cost versus the revenues. Revenues are looking very good, and they've done a lot of work on that front in things that you all have approved in terms of the membership types, modernizing the memberships rates, et cetera. But when you do see the percent, it jumps out and looks really, really good. And it is good. That is good news. But I will just note that we've gotten all of the summer camp revenue has come in early. So that's a front loaded number a little bit. So that's bumps that percentage way up. So, and you would see that in previous years' financial reports, but not trying to shortchange it in the sense of there is still a lot of underlying good news. But when you see that will start coming down, especially as the expenses ramp up, camp staff comes on board and everything like that. But just kind of wanted to highlight that piece. Otherwise, I'd stand for any questions for the interim financial report.
Yeah, Wanda?
We plan to do something about the roof at PCC.
Yes. In terms of Penn is actually doing some work looking into and has taken another pass at what might make sense up there solar wise and just trying to kind of get an understanding of that. And then in addition to looking into the non-solar piece of what needs to be repaired, which would be the your tiles or the
just the regular roof repairs.
Yeah, not the
leaks have been more manageable. So yes. It's has a really big price tag on it. And that's not, it's original to the facility. So a portion of it's 27, almost 28 years old. No, we can't go back to.
Nope, yeah.
And what we're looking at is, and we'll have more, we're going to have a work session. We haven't set the date specifically, but coming up soon about just parks, outdoor parks, PCC, MFAC, all things parks. But the roof replacement right now is expensive, but they're not recommending that we replace the clay tile portion. The clay tile portion is in good shape. But we're really excited about some of the things that Penn has been learning recently about the solar installation and the potential for that. So we're now kind of looking at the next step is to make sure structurally that we would be able to support that. Obviously, I think just want to double check that there were some corners that were, savings that were achieved in the original construction that
I think we call it value engineering. Developer friends.
Sorry.
That is definitely the term the county uses.
Value engineering that we hope don't limit us in options related to installation of solar panels.
Thank you. Lori, you have some additional items?
I did want to say thank you, Mayor, for talking about it. I appreciate everybody's patience for the construction impacts this morning. When I came to work, there were 7 asphalt trucks lined up on 61st Street. And I was a little bit anxious, and Brent reminded me that that's because they all showed up and were coming from the asphalt plant, and that would slow down during the course of the day. But and then it's just kind of music to our ears. So 61st Street, one more lift on Saturday. And then we'll be shifting. So we just had the 2 streets, 61st Street and then 54th Street. So that's going well. Our heart, we were selected to receive a parade of hearts. You may have seen our post. If you haven't seen the post, I sent you some additional information. It's basically on the sidewalk on the trail just west of Capitol Federal. It's a beautiful piece. I think I've been poking around. We had a lot of fun with our last heart and kind of getting to know the artist and featuring the artist. I think we're working to do some of that as well. So if you haven't been out, it's a great photo opportunity. One thing that we could use eyes and ears on the street, we're seeing a lot of activity. It's the time of year for people to make improvements to their businesses, to their homes. We're seeing a lot of activity where people are starting work or completing work prior to pulling permits. And so we're trying to do some education. But if you see work that's occurring and you have a question about it, I would encourage you to please call the Community Development Department and just double check and make sure that we have permits. I mean, the purpose of permitting is to ensure life, health, and safety for folks as they do these projects. So we would appreciate that. And then finally, I just wanted to touch on next week, we will have a work session on streets. So we have an updated PCI inventory, and I'm just going to, spoiler alert, we're not going to go through the map street by street and look at all the colored segments. What we really want to focus on is some of the general highlights from that, but just sort of the values and policy decisions that have underpinned our street program for the last 15 years. Some of the things and challenges that we're seeing going into the future, and especially as we think about potential renewal of a dedicated street sales tax in 2031. It's not that far away. And just beginning to open up that conversation as we move into our 2027 budget and beyond. So that is next Wednesday, April 22nd. And then on Wednesday, April 29th, we will be talking about 2024 building codes, including the energy efficiency code. And then we're going to launch into our council retreat on Saturday, May 2nd. And then we will be off to the races with our 2027 budget process.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Will the street discussion include bridges?
We aren't really going to focus on bridges. I mean, we do the biannual bridge inspection and inventory. We are with the Rock Creek Channel project going to be replacing the two bridges that have kind of the lowest rating. Otherwise, I know you have ongoing concerns about the Lamar Bridge, but that won't be specifically part of that. But we can certainly add that. I mean, that's sort of one of those policy decisions or things that we want to make sure that we capture that as we do future planning, we'll want to think about potential, whether it's Lamar. I mean, the big bridges for us would be Lamar, and then thinking about KDOT's improvements in the future once they get these repairs done, which don't feel minor at this point.
With a new administration in Wyandotte County, we might go ahead and revisit the opportunity for them to partner with us on the payment of that.
How about they do it this time, since we did it last time? We could take that pass.
All right, thank you. We do have a need for an executive session tonight, so the governing body will adjourn to executive session for the allotted time. When that time has expired, the governing body will reconvene to do one of the following: extend the time required for discussion and return to executive session, or two, continue with our regular city council meeting. As a reminder to the public, the governing body may take no binding action in an executive session. I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we recess to executive session in accordance with KSA 75-4319 B2 for consultation with the city's attorney, and in accordance with KSA 75-4319 B1 for discussion of personnel matters of non-elected personnel. Also attending the executive session will be City Administrator Laura Smith, City Attorney Dave Martin, and City Attorney Jacob Turner. The open meeting will resume in the council chambers in 30 minutes at 9:09 p.m.
Second.
Motion and a second. Robin, will you please call the roll?
Josie.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Green. Aye. Camosa.
Aye.
Hayden Posey.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm taking you're taking the whole thing? I was going to pick the best cookie. I don't know if this is the best. Need to resume? Yep. It is 9:09 p.m. and we have returned from executive session. Before we adjourn tonight, I want to share with the public that the video from this meeting will be available through a link on our website at missioncast.org. There being no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.